We made it
to 60.
Hooray!
We did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was all us.
I was
Specifically
going to
us.
say, it's been a long season. Oh my God, we did it. And Craig made me feel so much better, reminding me that Matthews has got 60 goals in 60 goals in a season.
But it wasn't 50 games.
I don't
It
care.
wasn't from the start.
I also do not care. It's nothing. No. He's got 60 goals. First Leaf to ever do it, right? Yes?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
I'm
Yeah.
right on that
Pretty
one.
incredible.
First one really broke the record earlier this season.
Right. That
Yeah.
makes sense. Yep. A
First
is equal to B.
Player in a decade in the NHL to
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. And
Sam-
last one was Sam Coase, who's also got 100 points for the first time in his career.
Yeah.
Like this year has been off the charts for points.
Mhm.
For
Yeah.
records.
And he has Stamkos has 17 points in the last 5 games or something.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah.
Good thing we don't play them anytime soon.
Yeah, really.
Come on, Boston. Come on,
Yeah,
Boston.
really. eh?
Yeah, Stamkos is really picking it up at the right time of the season right now.
Yeah.
He'll get injured. It's fine. Which I'm not hoping for, but at the same time.
But we're banking on it. So
It
come on.
sometimes happens, if you play the odds.
Yeah. Yeah, they play tomorrow. You never know.
Yep. We do want to go over our Leafs year in review. We'll do that this week. And the reason we're not going to do a playoff bracket yet is because there's still, a couple things that could change, especially in the Pacific wild card. Dallas and Nashville, I believe, are tied right now.
Yeah.
Vegas can still make it too.
Technically,
Barely.
Vegas.
Technically,
Barely.
if the
Man.
stars all align.
I
Everything
feel
has to
so
go
bad
right.
for Eichel. Like, come
Yeah, so do I.
on. He goes from Buffalo to Vegas, and then Vegas doesn't make it.
Yeah.
Like,
And I
what a
watched that game
nightmare.
last night, and it was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It was sad.
What a nightmare. Like, oh, that sucks for him so much. And also, Boston could technically overtake the Lightning, and Washington could overtake Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's been kind of on a
Oh,
downturn
yeah,
right
okay.
now.
I think of all the things that we just mentioned, that is the most likely of them.
I think so
Right.
too.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
so too. So that's crazy. And you could conspiracy theory that one, but somehow I don't think Pittsburgh wants to face Carolina or Florida over the Rangers. Maybe?
Oh,
I don't know.
No,
I would
wouldn't.
absolutely take Carolina over Florida.
True.
If that's two options, if I'm Washington, I'm trying to win every game and get every point so I can play Carolina
True.
because they won't have Freddie Anderson in the first round.
Very, very true. But looking at it, I'm not sure if they could get into second wild card spot, even if it was the Lightning or Boston. Or sorry, first wild card spot, because
Mm.
Florida has
They've
already
just got
taken
to
away
get into
the division. Yeah. Or
to be-
sorry, Florida's already taken the conference, so
Yeah.
it's how it goes. Okay, back to the Leafs. We're going to do the Leafs first, and then we'll do the league afterwards. Let's talk about 3 things with all the players on the team, and we'll kind of split it up into 4 different categories if we need to. Definitely 2 categories. So we'll talk about the breakout player who's broken out this year, who's finally gotten out of their slumps over the years, and who's doing really well. Who's the strongest player at each position, and who's leaving more to be desired out there? Like, maybe it could have been better. That'd be nice. We'll talk about the forwards. We're going to talk about the defense. And if need be, we'll talk about the power play and the penalty kill if that brings up a couple new names. There may be some overlap for sure, but we'll go through it. We'll do a little circly-lurkerly here. Craig, start us off. You're a forward breakout player. Who do you think on the Leafs has really broken out this year?
Oh, I'm going to have to say Ilya Mikheyev. Like 20 goals this season, and he didn't start until December, if I'm not mistaken, because
Yeah,
he had the
something
broken
like
thumb
that.
in the preseason.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
only played 60-something games. Like and really most of those goals have come in the last 3 months.
I remember when we were talking about him coming back, and we're like, oh, there's no way he can fit under the cap. We're so screwed. And it's just like, it just happened.
Oh, wait for next year.
Yeah.
And now
Oh,
his
God.
contract's up at the end of this year, and they have to re-sign him.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're really going to be able to fit him underneath.
Maybe not. Depends if he wants to take a lovely hometown discount. Hometown?
Yeah.
Discount. That'd be nice. Dan, breakout player.
So
Forwards.
I mean, I love Mikheyev. I am having a hard time not saying him, but I'm gonna go with Bunting. Rookie on the team, and he comes out and he just blows everybody away, makes it onto the first line. Like he's having I don't want to equate it to Matthews' first season because he's not quite at that level of play, quite at that level of scoring and
Of course.
playmaking and stuff, but he's having the similar season where he's breaking out in terms of really good offensive power. He's learning the defensive side of the offensive role, but
yeah, that's not what they're asking him to do.
but
so.
that's not what they're asking.
Yeah.
First line, just shoot on net, make the plays to the
Get the
wingers
puck
and
to the guys.
exactly.
Mhm.
So I've been really, really happy with Bunting this season.
Get to the net. That's what
Oh,
Bunting
yeah.
has done.
Yeah.
That's what
Absolutely.
he has done for this team.
And just a grinder and kind of a knob.
Yeah,
Sometimes he's just like,
I love
hey,
him.
hey, how are you? Okay, I'm poking you. Go away.
We've needed a knob for a while, though.
We have.
Yeah,
we
for
have.
sure.
Hyman was unfortunately not it. He was great in his own ways.
was
but
way too nice.
He was too nice. He's too
He's
much
absolutely
of a good guy.
too nice.
He's so great. Maybe I'll name my kid Hyman instead. My
Try and get
forward,
that passed.
my forward breakout player is Pierre Engvall. Like, thank God he came into his own. We've been trying to ship him off for a while. He made too much money. He got signed after he was on a bit of a hot streak and then fell off the face of the earth. Wasn't really great last year. And he's been awesome this year, and he's been awesome in his role. Like, no complaints about Engvall in the past 3 months, maybe.
Not really.
Yeah,
It's
pretty
been
much.
so good at both ends of the ice. Man, has he got a shot, and he's being
Mhm.
a nuisance as well. And we kind of need that. We need a little bit of Marchand sprinkled throughout the lineup. So Engvall is my guy. Strongest forward, Craig.
Strongest forward's Austin Matthews. Like I
I don't know if
I
there's
want to
even
say,
a debate there.
I could say someone other than Austin Matthews if
You
want.
don't have to.
In which case it'd be Mitch Marner. But
Dan, different player?
No, I have to go with Matthews. I don't think I can contest that in any sense of the imagination.
Me too. Boom. Moving on. Forward. Leaving to be desired. Craig.
well, Nick Ritchie's gone now. So
He's
we
on my
still,
list. He's
I was
on
going
my
to say,
list.
okay,
Yeah.
so in which case I would say Nick Ritchie because he was, a big signing at the beginning of this year. And I think it's really just shown that Dubas hits more often than he misses. But unfortunately, that was a big miss that he turned into a giant hit.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're getting to that, but
Thought so.
wow. Wow. Dan, not great forward.
So I'm going to pick somebody that's maybe not supposed to be the best forward, but that didn't impress me as much as I really hoped this year, and that's Simmons. I wanted to see a little bit more shutdown, a little bit more physical play from him.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we're not looking for points from him. Of course, that's not his role on the team. But I would have liked to see a little bit more toughness from that line. And I think he's the one expected to be tough on that line specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Well, assuming it's Spezza and somebody else. And I just didn't see that until the latter half of the season. And I think if we'd started off with him playing a little bit harder, I would have liked to see that.
I like how you said in the latter half of the season because he really has picked it up in the last little bit.
Mhm.
He has.
And I think it's with some rest and having
Yeah.
the right line mates with him. I think having him and Spezza on the fourth line is a little rough when we
Mhm.
get guys like Blackwell brings a lot of energy to that line.
Mm-hmm.
Him and
Exactly.
even Clifford. Clifford isn't necessarily a fast guy, but he definitely brings a lot of energy to that line. And defensively, he's pretty good. So I think having Simmons with the right partners on that line really make a big difference in his play.
Man, I wish you could have a super utility guy that is not on a line, like an extra forward, and that would be Spezza. Like,
Yeah.
Spezza's not on a line. He just fills in a spot when he needs to. He's on the second power play.
If we can just have a rover,
That's the word I was
Yeah.
looking for.
A
Yeah.
rover.
I was just like, okay,
the
Spezza,
DH of
your
the
time.
team.
Yeah, but also not feel bad for leaving him out for an extended period of time because he's just like, I am happy to be here. I am
Yeah.
so excited.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're
That
talking
would be
about
great.
Carlton the mascot.
Basically. Dan, I agree with you, especially on the toughness side, and he does fight, and that's
Mhm.
fine and dandy. Even though most of his fights end with a smile and a great fight, man, and this is fun. We're having fun. This is great. No, I want to see the hits that actually change play. That means okay, this huge hit has added energy. It has changed possession. Like I want to see that stuff that gets the team going, as opposed to just a fight. And he's had several in the past couple weeks, so I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more of that out of Simmons. That'd be nice. I did have Ritchie on my list. I'm gonna dig into Nylander.
Somebody had to.
I can't stand Nylander recently, and you know what? He puts up points, and that's great for you. With the attitude of Nylander, absolutely cannot stand. Get the fuck off the ice when you're changing.
Yes.
Yeah,
that
it's been a problem.
And it's spreading. I
Yeah.
saw Marner not
It's
get off very
spreading.
fast either. I'm like, what the fuck, you little shits? And that's all I'm gonna call them because they're still young. Nylander, you are not the guy. Show us that you actually want to be here, that you deserve more money. Your contract's one of the first to come up. Come on, man. Like it's just laziness I can't stand it.
He's got to feel overshadowed though by that top line.
Who cares? Go
But-
win. Go
but
win
that,
a cup.
That's got to play into it, right? Go
Yeah.
win a cup.
Like,
yeah.
yeah, come on.
But it's
like,
got to play into it psychologically for him, and it can't be easy because he is a maybe not all-star player, but he's a phenomenal player. But he's on a team where there are more better phenomenal players, which is I don't know. I
Like, how
feel
else
like
are you gonna win?
yeah.
How
True.
you like
Yeah.
you have a golden opportunity to contribute as well as have these awesome players with you. Like I think Nylander is the X factor for the playoffs
Yeah.
if he goes hard, but he just doesn't, and it annoys me.
The way that you were describing William Nylander, know who he's starting to remind me of a little bit?
Brian Burke.
Phil Kessel.
Okay.
A
Okay.
guy who's going to put up 30 plus goals.
Oh,
he's going
Nylander
to-
reminds you. I thought you
Yeah.
meant me.
Oh,
I'm
sorry,
Brian
no,
Burke.
the way
Let's
we're-
trade him out of town.
No, you got a few years before you remind me of Brian
Mhm,
Burke there.
mhm.
But no, but Phil Kessel was a guy that would put up points that you would always say, is he ever going to cross that center line into the defensive zone? Is he? We always called him lazy. But when he was on, and he put up points. And look what he did in the playoffs for Philadelphia or for Pittsburgh.
Same
He's
thing.
he's a playoff guy. and
Literally
when
the same
games
thing.
matter. He's there.
You got Crosby and Malkin above you. You got Mitch and Matthews above you. Kessel's line, what was it, HBK,
Mhm.
was the line that
Third
won
line.
them the cup.
So are we gonna have the NKE line? The Kerfoot?
Enk?
No. Yes.
ENK?
Yes.
Neck.
the
neckline.
like Engvall, the neckline.
Engvall.
Yeah, yeah.
Neckline.
Honestly, if Nylander can do well on that third line, and I really like the way that they're playing together, because Engvall is so good at getting the puck up the ice.
Mhm.
He has a bit of a shot, but just getting it into the offensive zone and having a guy like Willie on the ice who looks like he's the guy on that line.
Yes.
So he's been playing a lot better since he's been playing on that third line as the guy on that line. I think just playing with Matthews or playing with Marner or Tavares, he's not necessarily the guy, but he's driving a line pretty well right now.
Nobody's gonna pass to him when you're playing with Marner and Matthews.
Exactly.
And,
And
Tavares,
on that third line, it's get Willie the puck.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
True.
Yeah,
So
true.
maybe, yeah, I like that. And we're going to get into that in a little bit. Last thing on Nylander, just to kind of close the book on it before we get to the playoffs. Let's pretend the Leafs don't win the cup. We're just pretending. That's not what's
Right,
going to happen.
long
But
shot,
let's
but-
pretend.
I don't know how I can picture that.
Right.
I don't know how I
Yeah.
can just imagine that feeling right
There are a
now.
lot of tears.
Yeah.
Leafs don't win the cup. Do you trade Nylander for a culture change? Because I think this laziness is mildly spreading. Dan, what do you like? What do you?
See, that's
And it's simply a culture change. It is not because he's not effective. It's because he's
Okay.
lazy.
if they're gonna trade somebody for a culture change, that would be the player. It would be getting rid of the toxic negativity on the team from the one of the only sources it's coming from. So I'll give you that.
I don't know if it is toxic negativity because everything I hear about Nylander from the other guys is that he's overwhelmingly positive all the time.
Just maybe not on. We're not seeing that on the
Maybe
ice.
not on the ice.
It's a-
Doesn't
it-
translate.
He's so positive all the time that the criticism doesn't get to him
Yeah.
in the sense that he doesn't learn from his mistakes in the way that you will by making mistakes and taking that criticism.
hmm
I think the problem is that he just kind of plays at one level all the time.
Yep.
And we don't see that extra spark that we see from a guy like Marner or Matthews. I think if he was the number one on a team, if we didn't have Marner and Matthews who are so good defensively and at 200-foot players, I don't think we would look at Nylander in the same way. He would be our offensive guy.
True.
Mm. Okay, come on, Nylander, get it together. Just don't. I know you're listening. Get it together. Come on. Let's
Don't
move
let
on
us down.
to let's move on to the defense. I'll start off. Breakout player has got to be Liljegren. Like he's
Oh,
been
yeah.
so good. He finally came into his own. We talked about patience a couple weeks ago, and he is someone we've been patient with, even though we've been like, "Come on, like you were drafted in the first round. You were before Sandin, but Sandin's ahead of you. Like, come on, man!" And he has proven himself.
Mm-hmm.
What a great work! What great work by Keefe and Dubas on that one. Dan, defense breakout.
I'm gonna agree, Liljegren. I don't think there's really too much question on there. It's not Hall, unfortunately. As much as I'd love to give it to him,
Yeah.
But no, he's really proven himself to be an asset to the defensive pairings, and he can kind of play wherever he's situated for that lineup or that blender, whatever Keefe wants to do. So I agree.
I've noticed really recently with Liljegren, I'm going to say Liljegren as well.
Sure.
I would love to see Sandin, but he's been injured. Unfortunately, he hasn't really been with this group in this. Since we've got Giordano, we haven't had Sandin, essentially. And I would love to see how he would be able to do in this mix-up, but right now I don't know how he fit back in. But I've been liking all the little things that I've been seeing Liljegren do lately. He's gotten really good at separating guys from the puck, breaking up rushes in the neutral zone. And by having a guy like Gio, who, yes, will jump up sometimes, but he definitely is going to be standing back there. He's, the Brody to the Riley.
Mm-hmm.
And by having someone like that he can rely on, he can be up in the neutral zone and breaking up those plays. And he's been doing such a great job that the puck doesn't really get into his own zone where that's where you start to see Liljegren's warts. Is when the puck is hemmed into the zone. He's not necessarily the strongest guy in his zone yet. Again, he's still only, 21, 22?
Mm-hmm.
He's still a pretty young guy for an NHL defenseman. But by having Gio on that line is really just being able to allow him to show what his game really can be offensively.
Honorable mention to Lyubushkin, for sure.
Yep, for sure.
He's, wow, is exactly what we needed. I've got a section for him.
I was going to say, yeah.
We got a section. Strongest defenseman this year. I think this one could be a little bit more spread out compared to breakout for Liljegren. I'm going to say Brody. He's so consistent. When we're in the defensive zone, I have full faith in Brody. If there's a 2-on-1, Brody's usually going to take it. I think he's had a couple weird things recently, but overall throughout the year, Brody, solid. He's also moved around the lineup, and he's always made his defensive partner look good on the left side or on the right side. So Brody's my guy, strongest.
So, I mean, it almost feels like a bit of a cop-out to pick Riley, but I just have to pick Riley. He's top pairing
So
D.
many points.
Like, so many points. But he's also, you said you feel comfortable when you see Brody on the ice. I feel comfortable when I see Riley on the ice with whoever, whether it's Lyubushkin or they're playing Liljegren or whatever.
Just not with Sandin.
Yeah. Just not with Sandin. That experiment failed miserably.
Or Hall.
Yeah, or Hall. But, I mean, Riley, tried, tested, and true. Great player, great offense, and he's fun to watch.
See, I would also say Riley. He's put up, 66 points or something this season so far?
He's like at least top 10 defenseman, if not top 5.
67. Yeah.
67 points. Oh, it had to be 67, didn't it?
Of course.
But
2 more, buddy.
I think he's played really well with Lyubushkin. I haven't necessarily loved Lyubushkin lately he's been jumping up into the play a lot more, and he doesn't necessarily have the foot speed to get back in case something does go wrong. Riley has gotten back a few times. I've actually kind of liked the way that they've been working together with that. But
we don't need 2 of those on one line.
Exactly.
Right.
But,
Sword and a shield.
Yeah.
But seeing at this point with Riley with his new contract next season, I know we were talking a lot about, earlier on the season about the ideas of trading Riley, but I think seeing what he's been since he signed that contract, I can definitely see him being a part of this team moving forward, for a long term.
Yep. Leaves more to be desired. Maybe a little bit more consensus here. Justin Hall, thank you for coming. Doors on the left.
Yeah, he won't be on this team next year.
No.
Yeah.
Not a chance.
Assuming Dubas can do some tidy work and maybe get Lyubushkin back and cross your fingers, maybe get some Gio back. That'd be nice.
I guess we have some cap issues to deal with.
But those are going to be relatively affordable contracts, I think.
Yeah.
And
you're talking about 14-point scorer Ilya Lyubushkin.
I am talking about him.
Give him the respect that he deserves.
I will pay him Justin Hall money, and bye-bye Justin Hall.
That's fair. Yeah.
Dan, anything else with Hall? Or anyone above Hall? Or
nothing
different?
else with Hall. I know we talked about it a little bit kind of mid-season. I would have liked to see more from Muzzin.
Okay.
He kind of lacked a little bit mid-season. He's picked it up a little bit. Well, I mean, he's been injured, and he just got back 1 game, 2 games, something like that. But just before he got injured, he was starting to ramp up again, and he played well at the start of the season, but then the whole mid-range part kind of lacked. So I would have liked to see more from him. Obviously, though, I'm on the get Hall out of here train.
I forgot about Muzzin.
That's fair.
I've completely forgotten about him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that's kind of cool that our our defensemen have been able to hold their own without Jake Muzzin, the highest paid defenseman this year.
Yes, true.
Until next year.
It's not bad.
Yeah. And actually, Muzzin was going to be who I was going to say as well.
Okay.
And not necessarily, we've ragged on Hall enough. I don't think I can say any more about it. So I'm going to say something. Only Muzzin because he's definitely been battling some injuries this year, and he has not been the Jake Muzzin that we've seen over the last few seasons. I'm not going to blame him for his game going downhill just because he's not working hard enough. He's not trying hard enough. It's just that I think that he has played a lot of very hard minutes for this team. He has played very hard in those minutes, and I think it's just it looks like it is starting to wear on his body. And if they can shelter him properly with, I would say Liljegren, but you can't really break them up with Gio, but someone who can shelter Muzzin and let him play a little bit more of an offensive role. I think we were talking about letting Muzzin be the sword as long as he has a shield. Unfortunately, that shield is not Justin Hall.
It's not.
If it's somebody else, if we can get Sandin back, put him on that right-hand side, if he can play with Muzzin, that might be a pretty good pairing. But I would love to see that before the playoffs, and that's not going to happen now.
Need it now,
Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Okay, let's wrap up the penalty kill and the power play. Let's just keep it all positive here. Dan, anyone you want to point out on the power play that has either been breaking out or is the strongest that maybe we haven't mentioned yet?
I mean, so there's the obvious Matthews, who's phenomenal on the power play, but Tavares just kicks ass on the power play, and I love watching him. So he's going to be my PK mention.
PP mention.
PP mention. Sorry, yeah.
Well, I'll go with the penalty kill then.
Okay.
I'll have to give my penalty kill to all of them.
Yeah, okay.
Marner, Kerfoot, Engvall, Mikheyev,
Comp.
even Justin Hall on the penalty kill is pretty good. All those guys, I believe they've all scored a shorthanded goal this year.
Mm-hmm. Even Justin Hall.
Oh, did he?
I remember
Yes,
that. Really?
okay,
Yeah, I did.
I
Yeah.
forgot that.
So, like, for that many guys to be an offensive threat on the penalty kill, that is a penalty kill that you have to give some respect to.
Power play, the only thing I can add is Mitch Marner. He shoots now. So it's not just everyone's looking at Matthews. They're going to throw it to Matthews. Okay, it has been when it was around 50, and it has been when it was around 60. We're coming up to both those numbers. You pass it to Marner, everyone thinks, oh, he's going to pass it somewhere else. Nope, he's slapping it now, and it's going in.
And if it's not going to Matthews and in, if it's not going from Marner in, it's going off of Tavares and in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Nylander was not mentioned in any of that little bit there. So
There's a reason.
He's got a lot of power play points. Unfortunately, just when you're playing with those three other guys, that's going to happen. That's kind of what we were talking about, is that he's the fourth guy, and I think that he just wants to be number one.
Yep.
One thing with him, he's got a lot of multi-point game. He'll do like 2 goals in a game and then go quiet for a few. And like, that's great, but we need consistency. We need that. Like Matthews does that. He'll do 2 goals in a game, take a break, 2 goals in a game, blah, blah, blah. And Nylander's like, he's just so close to like really star power, but he just can't get there. Especially, I think.
And it's not a 200-foot game. It's an offensive side of the game, and that's it.
Exactly.
Let's move on to the goalies, the coaching, and the management. Goalies, Jack Campbell's our guy. Like, it's fairly obvious.
doubt at this point,
He's our guy. Shalgren is a solid backup, but as of right now, that's all he is. I feel okay about that part, that he's the backup. Craig, how are you feeling about Campbell going into the playoffs?
I have no issues with Campbell going to the playoffs, especially with the way he's been playing since he's come back from injury. He's looked like Jack Campbell again, and not the avatar or shadow of Jack Campbell that we've been seeing most of the season.
Dan, do you think that Campbell not playing as many games recently is simply load management to account for the playoffs, or something is still nagging him, so they're sheltering?
Man, I mean, I hope nothing's nagging him. And it didn't look like against Detroit when he got the shutout, anything was nagging him. I think it's load management. I'm excited to see what they do against Boston, because do they rest him, 6 or 7 days until the start of the playoffs? Or do they give him the Boston start, keep him fresh and keep going? So, I mean, if it is load management, I'd still like to see him play against Boston so that he has hopefully the confidence if they crush them, but also just like continuity with playing games and not taking that long break before the playoffs.
Is it riskier to play him, risking an injury, or riskier to not play him and therefore he's not really warmed up for the playoffs, potentially risking an injury?
If he's going to play if the risk is one game could get him injured. Like that could happen anytime.
And Boston
So-
wants that game. Like they are playing
Maybe.
for it. Maybe, maybe it
Yeah,
depends on
they
what
might
happens.
not
before
need
then.
it. Yeah, but I would hope not. I would hope they're not worried about injury at this point. They're just worried about focusing on his gameplay, his confidence going in.
I think it's really Jack Campbell's call at that
Cool.
point.
Could be.
If he wants to go in, if he feels like he needs the rest or not. What I also wouldn't mind seeing is something like a preseason kind of thing where he plays the first half of the game and, 10 minutes left in the second. All right, sorry, Jack, you've got a shutout, but you're coming out and Shalgren's going in and finishing this off.
Why not?
Yeah,
Why not?
why not? At this point, they're locked in their position. They're not really playing for anything. Get them some reps, but also get them some rest.
See, I'm a little bit worried if they start Shalgren that we're going to have a Tampa situation, the 8-1 night he had against Tampa, and Boston's just going to light them up.
Mm.
And then we go into the playoffs with a great goalie who's come off a shutout, but then a backup goalie who we're really not sure where he is. That's kind of my biggest fear right now. So I'd like to see Campbell start. And even if he does take some bad goals, we then put in the backup. But
Shrug it off. Yeah.
I'm not really worried about an 8-1 loss in that last game because I'm really hoping we run a top line of Nick Robertson, Brett Sini, and Joey Anderson.
Where's he going
I
with
want
this?
that to be if that's our top line for that last game, then I'm fine with an 8-1 loss. Let those other guys rest.
You're
Yeah.
really going for the preseason game.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Coaching. Sheldon Keefe's first full year as the Leafs coach. Both years, one was cut off. Well, one was when he was hired, and then it was cut off, and then there was the shortened season, 56 games. So this is his first full year. Let's just start off with the grades: A+, F-, things like that. Craig, what do you got for Keefe?
Well, for Sheldon Keefe, it's got to be an F+.
F+.
What else would you give Sheldon Keefe?
Fuck plus.
Exactly. Everything's an F.
Room to improve, Keith. Come on.
Honestly, I'll have to give him an A-. They've broken most home wins, most points in a season. He's managed to get Austin Matthews up to 60 goals. He's gotten, he's played this team really well. And one thing he's been compared to Mike Babcock in the past is flexible. Is that he's moved around the lineup, knowing that injuries are going to come in the playoffs, and he's going to have to be flexible with it. In the past years, we've had an injury. Guys had absolutely no chemistry because they only played the same guys the entire season. And then we get into it, and it's like, well, what can Nylander do? Can he play center in the playoffs? Who knows? Because we never had a chance. We never even tried it. But for his flexibility and the Fs, I'll give him an F+.
He gets the plus for the A part, but the F for,
Yeah,
for the
exactly.
fuck part. Okay, I'll go. Keefe. I think Keefe gets an A. And the flexibility, I definitely agree. I also think he gets out of the way.
Mhm.
He doesn't seem like he's very active on the bench unless he's yelling at a ref.
Which is all the time.
But that's his job.
Yeah.
His job is not to yell at the players. The players know how to play hockey. Maybe a little bit here and there. And he's got an offensive coach, he's got a defensive coach, and he's got a power play coach or something. I don't know. And he's not thinking about the coach's challenge. He's got eyes in the sky for that. His goal is to protect his players from the ref, basically. So I think he's done a great job just getting out of the way and allowing the players to be themselves, allowing Matthews to get 60 and everyone to blossom into what they are.
Beautiful flowers that they are.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with an A-. Also, I'm going to match you, Craig.
You just get a little bit
Oh,
closer.
sorry, I'm going to go with an A- and match Craig there. So I love his coaching style, but I know that's taken a lot of criticism because it's very harsh. It's not the hold your hand coaching style that some people like. So
And like his first season when he came up, when he was just sunshine, daisies,
exactly.
unicorns.
Let's get
Coach?
Tyson Berry a point.
Yeah. So I like that aspect, but I think his harshness could be seen as negativity. So I'd take a little bit of points off from that. Craig, you also said he lets people run, and I'm loving that. Like he lets Matthews out of the cage and just says, "Go have fun," and Matthews goes and has fun, and he lets Marner and Matthews and Tavares play, and they're lighting it up right now. I also really like his ability to line blender. When Matthews was out, he had some really interesting lines come out just before like 5 or 6 games ago to experiment, see what he can do before the playoffs in games that mattered but didn't really matter too much. So I like that he takes risks like that, even though they may not be are we going to make the playoffs risks? But they are still risks in the sense that we could fuck this all up and lose this game 8-1 against Tampa, but we're going to learn something about our team. And I really like that he does that.
So line blundering has been kind of a topic between the three of us, and we send the lines to each other each game, and it's we don't know what's coming up. It's just like, okay, it's probably going to be Bunting, Matthews, Marner. Okay, Bunting's injured. Who's going to play with Matthews and Marner? And usually it was Tavares, Nylander, and Guy, and figure out who that guy is. Kerfoot was the main guy. Mikheyev got a shot. Kasha got a shot. Blah blah blah. And now they've split up Tavares and Nylander. So who has been, or what? Sorry, which has been your favorite new combination for this? I'm going to take the softball. It's going to be the third line: Kampf, Engvall, Nylander, and that takes some guts, which you just mentioned, Dan. He has the guts to split up some guys that are working. Tavares and Nylander work really, really well together, but Nylander needed a kick in the butt or a slightly different role, and I think this is working. He's the top guy on that line. Engvall and Kampf are working really well with him. If Kasha comes back, I don't think he slots into that third line. I think maybe he goes second or fourth, or maybe even scratched because he hasn't played in a while. Craig, who's your favorite new combination, or just a random combination that Keefe tried out one time?
Can I say Marner, Matthews, and Bunting?
Sure.
Because
Of course.
Bunting,
It took a while to get there, yeah.
he wasn't the guy at the beginning of the season. It was Nick Ritchie's spot to lose, and did he lose it quickly?
Mm-hmm.
They've tried Mikheyev up there. They've tried Kasha up there. They've tried a lot of guys before they really settled on Bunting.
Can I pause you for a second? They've been putting Nylander up there since Bunting's been hurt. How do you feel about that line?
Ooh, if it works, it works. It seemed they had a 91% Corsi or something in the game when they had it, when they were playing together.
I don't think they've had many points, though.
Well, they haven't had a lot of minutes together, I don't think.
Yeah, okay. You would think 3 superstars, it should click right away. We should be getting goals.
Yeah. But again, there's a goalie.
Okay.
There is a goalie in the way. So if you look at the advanced stats at how much they've had the puck and how many chances they have,
Sure.
eventually they're going to start going in over the course of, X amount of minutes together.
And Nylander doesn't play Bunting's role, not even in the slightest.
No, not in a sense in terms of the pestering, but I think he could be the net front. He has been in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the kind of now that we know that they can play fairly well together, if the moment comes in the playoffs where they need some goals, they should be doing that and not putting Tavares up on the top line like they have in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Matthews, Marner, Tavares just does not work.
It
It
really
has not
doesn't.
worked in all the times they've tried.
On paper, it looks great.
Oh, absolutely.
It looks incredible.
Desperate times do that. It's like, no.
No, I think-
Desperate times, throw out the shutdown line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Or throw Mikheyev up there just for a little bit of chaos.
Mhm.
Get some speed. Him and Marner, just the two
Throw
of them.
Riley
That'd
up
be
there.
such. Yeah.
Marner, Gio Lilligren on the back.
Well, hey, if you're looking to confuse the opponent,
Yeah.
Nylander, Bush on the blue line. Is
That's
that
right.
No, Craig. No, too far. Dan, any line blenders that you like the most?
I think my favorite move, and you kind of touched on this, Kyle, was bringing up Engvall past the fourth line. He's not a
I
fourth
forgot
line
he was
player.
down there for a long time.
He was down there for a good chunk of the season, and he's proved that he's not a fourth line player. Moving him up to kind of interchange. He did a little bit of second line stuff, very little. Played mostly on the third line when he's moved up, but I think showing his faith in Engvall, Keith's faith in Engvall, and keeping him there, and then kind of changing the other two players around him, I've really liked that. So I think Keith's done a fantastic job with the lines this year. I think the experimentation's been great.
Who do you think is the most jack of all trades kind of player that can move around the lineup, no problems? And let's not say Matthews, Marner, Tavares, because they will make everybody look good.
Yeah.
Who's that guy that can move around the most?
That's got to be Kerfoot.
I was going to say
Okay.
Kerfoot, yeah.
We've
easily.
literally seen him on all 4 lines at this point.
True.
And almost every position.
Yeah, right, left, center,
Yeah.
doesn't seem to matter. He's out there. Is he the best player in the league at all these positions and anywhere in the no, but he contributes.
Yep.
And when it comes time, he scores. He fits into he's such a good penalty killer that you have to keep him in the lineup just for that. But he contributes on the fourth line, he contributes on the second line. We haven't seen him a whole lot on the first, but I can see him put him out there. He does play a kind of similar role to Bunting. Like
Mhm.
he is a bit of a pest, and that's when I love Kerfoot the most, is when he's being a pest, and when he's playing Kerfoot's game, which is hard and fast and not taking shots.
His defensive awareness has also increased this year, which
Yeah.
has been really nice to see. I know he had a really bad breakdown 2 games ago, or I can't remember, 2 or 3 games ago. But his defensive ability has also increased. So I think Jack of all trades is his.
I know the next logical option might be Mikheyev. He's moved around quite a bit this year, but I'm going to say the next option after Kerfoot is Blackwell. He's all over the place. He's on the 4th line center sometimes, 4th line wing sometimes, 3rd line, and they've put him up in the 2nd. He had a couple shifts with Matthews and Marner when Bunting went down. Let's try it out. I think that was an excellent pickup by Dubas.
Yeah.
And almost seemed like a throw-in. I feel
Yeah.
like Gio could have been got for exactly what we paid for, but they also got Blackwell. Like, what a great, tidy bit of business there. So I do want to segue into the management this year. How did they do? And I think our main question will leave the beginning of the season out because Kampf was a hit,
Mhm.
Kasha was a hit minus injuries, but we kind of knew that going in. Richie was not a hit, and Mrazek was not a hit. And unfortunately, they cost the most money, but Richie's gone, and Mrazek's on LTIR, so it's okay. The 2 big moves that Dubas did this year, bringing in Mark Giordano and trading Richie for Lyubushkin and Dzingel. But Dzingel didn't happen. It was basically for Lyubushkin. Wow. What a steal and exactly what we needed. However, which was the better trade? Hindsight's 2020 now. We've been here. We know how they're playing. Both defensemen, both contributing in different ways. Which was a better trade made by Dubas this year? Mark Giordano or Ilya Lyubushkin?
That's actually harder than I thought. I looked at it earlier and I was like, oh, that's easy. That's Gio. But I'm still gonna go with Giordano. I think you want to pick up a veteran. We needed a little bit of that on defense. Riley was really our only kind of veteran player and Muzzin, I guess, but that had the common presence, that had the ability to shut down, that had defensive awareness, that had a little bit of offensive capability. And now we've got Gio filling that role as well. And I think that's overall going to be a lot better for the Leafs going deep in the playoffs than developing a really good defensive player in Lyubushkin. But I think Gio is better for the team going further into the playoffs because he has that knowledge, that ability, and he's a good player. Like, he's a phenomenal
So good.
player.
So good.
And he's just getting better, it seems like. Not stats-wise, maybe, but
No, stats-wise.
I haven't looked at him
He was
recently.
okay on Seattle, but his
Yeah,
plus-minus
well,
was
of course,
obviously like terrible.
Yeah.
He was okay, but he
you
wasn't.
bring anybody from Seattle.
Yeah,
Yeah,
He
like, what's your
wasn't-
plus minus when you always have an empty net?
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
But like,
yeah, from Calgary, he really didn't have the block shots. He didn't have the hits. You know, he's getting older, but all of that has gone up since he
Yeah.
came to the Leafs. Too bad I dropped him, but whatever.
and we were so focused on goaltending in the last 3 months or so because we had goaltending issues but if you shore up defense, goaltending's less of an issue. And I think that's what we've done with Gio. And I think it really just tightens the team up for the playoff.
Oh, he's not sure.
Yeah, the hesitation, you can see it.
What was
call?
Hey, I don't sound like that. What's the biggest issue around this team all year? What's the thing we complain about the most often that is not just a player?
Too many men on the ice penalties. God damn it.
Okay, sorry. The other thing that we talk about.
Nobody gets anyone out of the way in front of the net.
I was going to say cap space, but thank you for pointing it out.
They're interchangeable.
Yeah.
And cap space is such a big thing on this team that is basically another player of the team that we need to consider at every given time. If we didn't make the trade for Lyubushkin with getting rid of Richie, we wouldn't have Giordano.
Good point.
Ooh.
At least not without moving roster players off the roster to get him, because we didn't have to lose anybody off the roster really to get either of those guys.
Yep.
So if we hadn't gotten rid of Richie, we wouldn't have had the cap space to get.
Either.
So I'm going to say that the trade, which guy do I think is the better player for the team that's going to impact most going forward through the playoffs? Obviously,
Yes.
Giordano.
That's his
Mhm.
answer.
Which
Yes.
trade is the big trade that made, that kind of eased up everything to be able to make that other trade happen? Is the Lyubushkin trade.
Cool.
Good point. I like
Cool.
that.
I like
Well
that
thought out.
perspective
Yeah.
too. I'm gonna say Lyubushkin for similar reasons that Dan says Gio, and it's mostly because Lyubushkin was a diamond in the rough. We found it.
Yeah.
We found the cool thing. We found Riley's partner. Riley's best partner has been Brody. Now
Oh, I
Brody.
thought it was Ron Hainsey.
Oh God. Now Brody can move around. Brody moving around has made the rest of the defense so much better. And Lyubushkin and Riley, they just click. Now, Craig did mention that Bush has been jumping up maybe a little bit too much, and I bet you they're going to put that down a bit. So you know what? Just calm down. Just play your role. Get people out of the way for Campbell. And that's the biggest part. That Lyubushkin does that. Gio brings exactly all the things that Dan said. He brings that presence. He's teaching Liljegren how to be a good defenseman. Wow, that's
Mhm.
going to pay dividends in the future.
And having Brody at the same time, like having both of them
Yeah.
on this blue line, not only is it paying dividends now, it's going to in the future, just constantly with those guys.
Well, Lyubushkin is exactly what we needed, and he stepped up and he did it. And that was almost a hunch by Dubas. So Dubas nailed it with the Lyubushkin trade. And then cap reasons that Craig said. I didn't even think about that. So that's great.
And even worst case, if Lyubushkin didn't work out, we could have just sent him down to the Marlies and saved that cap space.
And it's you just save the caps. Yep.
Yeah, but by
exactly.
how he's making what 1.2 million or something, I think Lyubushkin.
Sure.
Like
Something
for
like
a
that.
guy who's playing in the top 4 on one of the top teams in the league right now, that is a steal.
That's it.
Do you guys think that? I know we're like late in the season, so it's not a great time to make changes. But do you think we see Gio and Brody on the same line?
If
Yeah.
there's an injury, yes.
Pending injury?
If there's an injury somewhere in the blue line, or they just need a shutdown pair and they need to save Riley for some offensive minutes, then yeah, we might see that.
Or like a Game 7 Hail Mary kind of thing?
Could yeah. And you know what? I think that's why we haven't seen that pair quite as much
Because we know it works.
they already know it
Yeah.
works. It's
Yeah.
just like, nope, you guys, yep, it's just gonna click. It's a puzzle
Mhm.
piece.
Yeah.
Good to go.
Make the make Liljegren better now while we can, and then just because that it's going to work if you need it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay. It was a lot longer on the Leafs than I thought, but it was super great, and it really did encapsulate the year. I think they did a great job this year. They're breaking records left, right, and center. So great job, Leafs.
Breaking records and breaking hearts.
Don't fuck up. That's all I have to say now.
Yeah, don't drop the ball now.
So are we moving on from the Leafs?
We are.
I just want to say one last thing. I didn't end up watching the game last night because I had that thought on Monday of, okay, this is great. We've broken all these records. This is the best season we've ever had. I still have that feeling like I did in the very first week of the season of who the fuck cares?
Mm,
Do something in the playoffs.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know that was our feeling in the first week of the season, and then things kind of got pretty exciting in the middle there. And it suddenly just came flooding back to me in the second last game of the season of I have a hard time getting excited about game number 81, knowing that game number 1's coming up next week.
Yep.
And unfortunately, I missed both of Matthews' goals.
Oh, bummer.
I missed number 60. That would have been a fun one to watch. And all
Actually,
of a sudden,
I technically missed it as well. I saw the recap or whatever, but
Yeah.
I missed it live and blah blah blah. But you know what? Yes, the end is looming.
Mhm.
The danger
Yeah.
is coming
It's
in
decision
the form
time.
of blue and white. Wait, what? Yes.
yes.
But I think we got to take this season as a huge positive.
Mhm.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
and we
I like
gotta
it.
we gotta cherish it. Gotta put it in a little box and be like, you know what? We did that.
But we did that last season.
That didn't count. Last season. Does not
Oh,
count.
right.
That
Yeah,
doesn't count
yeah.
for
Division
shit.
change. Oh,
Wait,
yeah.
that does not count for shit. Yeah. And you know what? I think that's the biggest thing in this division, this psycho division.
This is
They
a
did
good
so
division.
well.
They got second. They beat Tampa
Yeah.
in the division.
And
Yeah.
Boston.
Yeah, they're playing with all the big boys, which
Yeah.
last year they
This is
couldn't
the
have
craziest
competed.
division.
Yeah.
Like, this is like the AL East of baseball.
What's Florida's points? Like 118 now or something?
Oh,
Like,
stupid.
that's
They've
crazy.
broken
120,
the
I think.
records.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
They've broken a lot of records.
Their records.
Yes,
Yeah.
but wow. But they're thinking the same thing that we are. they got to win a round.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's been
Yep.
longer for them than it has been for us.
Yep.
Jesus Christ. Okay, we're not there yet. We're going to talk about the playoffs next week. I don't want to talk about what the Leafs need to do, blah, 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 blah. We're going to talk about
Win.
that hopefully Monday or Sunday, and we'll do our playoff bracket. That's going to be super fun. It's our big bet of the year. And, hopefully we have a second playoff bracket. We were going to do it throughout the playoffs last year, but we were so sad they lost in the first round. that
I
we're
had
like,
mine
fuck
made
that.
after game number 4.
Let's look to the rest of the league now. And we're going to kind of quickly go through it and talk about some of our previous predictions for how things went. Quickly, what time are we at, Craig?
I've got 53 minutes, but I was recording for a bit, so probably at 45.
Okay. we'll burn
Burn through
through this. Just to give us a little bit of a recap from 19 episodes ago and our quarter season predictions. Our division winners. Craig said Tampa, Washington, Vegas, Colorado.
1 for 4.
1
Okay.
for 4. Okay. Washington, I'd say, is the biggest out there pick, but Vegas also.
At the time,
yeah.
that was early on in the season, and they
Yeah.
were in first at the time.
That's true.
Ovi was on like a 95 goal pace at that point.
Yeah.
We did not think Freddie Anderson was going to be maybe Vezina caliber throughout the
Yeah.
season.
He
so
should be nominated for sure.
We didn't know who Shesterkin really was.
Okay. Dan said Toronto, Pittsburgh. From the beginning, he changed to Edmonton, but then also said Colorado.
Okay.
Okay.
That's good. I got
Okay,
one.
Not bad. Beginning of the year, you said Seattle. Fun.
Yeah, well,
Fun.
I had high hopes for them. I thought they'd pull a Vegas and do that.
Yeah.
But clearly,
Which do you think is the most surprising that was incorrect?
well, I think the most surprising was Seattle for me.
Okay. Let's pretend we already changed that. You changed it to
Oh,
Edmonton.
okay. So for me, the most surprising is then Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh should have done better.
Mhm.
They're still in a tough division, so I understand, but I think they should have.
And me, 3 for 4 after our little changes here so far. No, it's set. I picked Toronto as well. Okay, fine. I picked Philly to start the year. Wow, that was bad. But then changed to Carolina. I picked Vegas to start the year, then changed to Calgary, and also picked Colorado.
Yeah.
So
Well
obviously
done.
my surprises were, why did I say any of that at the beginning of the year? But my changes were pretty good. Any other serious surprises within the divisions, like the lineup of the standings so far? The fact that Washington's in a wild card spot, the fact that Boston's in a wild card spot, the fact that Minnesota and St. Louis are so good and they're second and third. Same with Toronto and Tampa, or LA making the playoffs. Like, that's nuts. Or we'll get to teams maybe not making the playoffs in a bit. Dan, what do you got for us for maybe surprises for the divisions overall?
For me, it's Boston. I thought Boston would be higher. I didn't see them. They're not biting their nails about making the playoffs, but they're definitely in the wild card spot. And sure, they might play Toronto if they win and Tampa loses and everything works out. But I thought they'd do better.
Well, I'm just going to say about Boston, like, they don't have Rask this year.
Yeah.
They don't have...
What a tandem, though. Oh, my God. Allmark
yeah.
and Swayman.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
insane.
But they don't have Krejci. I think the Krug trade was last year, wasn't it? But
Yep.
they haven't had Krug through the whole season this year.
Yep.
They've had a fair amount of turnover. And for this, the fact that they're only a couple points behind being in that third divisional spot, like, that's actually a pretty good year. They were doing poorly at the beginning of the season. I
Mhm.
thought we were talking for a while that Boston wasn't going to make the playoffs, and
Yep.
Yeah.
they've looked like a really good team. I'm really surprised that LA made it. I didn't think that they were this far in their rebuild. St. Louis has really stepped it up in the last month or so. They're like 9-0-1 their last 10 or something.
Yep.
Yeah, it's been a wild year. I
Yes.
guess.
Well, yeah, good
They've
point.
got Fleury, who better be their starting goaltender in the.
Oh, it's
Wouldn't
bad.
that be
It's-
something if he wasn't?
It's actually, it's been literally Talbot Fleury
Yeah.
since they got him. It's been back and forth, and neither of them has actually taken the crease. They've
and it
both
was,
had
it was
their
Leonard
on nights,
Fleury,
and both
Leonard
had their off
Leonard
nights.
Fleury.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, it was kind of the unexpected team as well. The LA Kings made it. Kind of surprised that the Oilers made it. It was bad there for
Up
a
and down
bit.
like a toilet
the
seat.
start.
It was
Yeah.
bad, and their goalies was just like, oh my God, what do they do? Did they get Fleury? Maybe they tried. Mike Smith is on a tear now, and I think they'll take the first round against LA. That is basically set, I think. You never know, though. You never know. So, unexpected teams to make the playoffs. Quick recap. Craig originally said Vancouver, then switched to LA and Jersey.
Vancouver almost made it.
They did too.
Compared to where they were at the beginning, like halfway through the season, the fact that they only just got eliminated in the last couple days is an incredible,
Yep.
testament to the way that Bruce Boudreau has turned that team around over the last third of the season or whatever it was, 2/3 of the season.
I think this is going to be the most exciting offseason for Vancouver in a long
They've
time.
got a lot of work ahead of them.
And they don't have Benning. Like, this is actually going to be exciting as
Hopefully
opposed to why did they do that again?
Hopefully a very
Why did they
quiet
do that
July
again?
1st.
Well, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. Jersey, how do you feel about that, Craig?
They didn't trade Subban at the deadline,
Okay.
which is a mistake.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dan also said Vancouver to make the playoffs. Didn't happen. Unfortunately, you also
Should have
mentioned
stuck with them.
you switched to Chicago. What?
Yeah. So I think I can't remember. Chicago had a lot of bad PR midway through the season.
Of course,
I
yes.
can't remember if this happened before or after that. This prediction, but
I think that was after.
I think it was that you said they were going to come roaring back after.
I
their-
think that's what it was. So I thought they were going to come, as you said, roaring back from all the negative stuff that had encapsulated that team, and they were going to make this really epic playoff run, which just fizzled and never amounted to anything. So,
nothing.
bit of a bummer, but fuck.
And
I
now,
s- Go ahead.
I was gonna say their season's so bad they've got longtime captain Jonathan Taves saying, "I don't know what the fuck's going on here right now. Nobody's talking to me."
That's
Basically,
brutal.
he's like, coaches, upper management, I just want to know what's going on.
Sounds like a trade to me.
That hurts.
Yeah, it sure does.
$10 million trade. Oof, make it happen.
Isn't his contract up next year?
I don't know.
I think him and Kane are up at the end of next year.
End,
so
of,
that-
end of next year. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that might be the kind of thing that you can bite the bullet for half a season and
Yep.
move
Take
him.
50%.
Yeah.
Yep. To make the playoffs, I said at the beginning of the year, LA and Ottawa. Should have stuck to my guns with LA, Ottawa. Wow. What a flop there. But I switched to Anaheim.
Mm.
Interesting that they did not make it. They were really up there for an extended period of
Mhm.
time. Gibson is still very good.
Mhm.
And they've got some of the most electric young players in the league, of course, with Zegras going nuts with his Michigan goals and things and getting heat for it. Like, fuck off.
Oh,
holy
cool.
hot
That was
dogging.
cool.
yeah, hot dog and bye. I am actually really surprised that they did not squeak through and make it maybe even over the Oilers or into a wild card spot.
They have a new GM,
Mm-hmm.
and he did what Jeff Gorton did in New York a couple years ago. He looked at this team, went, "We're on pace for the playoffs. Are we going to win this year? No. Are we going to win the next couple years? No." Looks at the guys with expiring contracts and said, "Are you going to be here? Are you going to sign a long-term deal and stay with us?
Mm.
We're going to be rebuilding." No. Okay. Out the door. And then they lost
Every single one of them.
every single one. Every expiring contract he sent out the door, got some value for it,
Serious value.
and didn't call it an own rental and just try to do something in the playoffs. He's thinking long term.
Mhm.
And I think that is only going to make that team better going forward. They're not signing guys to long term contracts who are, in the later parts of their career.
Yep.
They got some value for them. And he can see that they've got a lot of really good pieces. They've got Zegras and Milano, Troy Terry, who's been a
Drysdale. Yeah.
yeah, and John Gibson. If you got a goalie, you can work forward from that. I think it was a great move by the GM to move some of that space, and I think it was a really forward-thinking move.
I don't know why. I just thought about this, but I can see them picking up Jonathan Taves.
Yeah,
You throw in a leader for at least a year, see if the leader likes it, because Getzlaf is
it's
retired.
just retired.
Just retired, so
Yeah.
maybe he's not the captain, but he's the leader in the room.
hmm
And then you eventually hand it off, kind of like a Marlowe was for the young guys.
Yeah,
with the Leafs, and then Marlowe had his time, and
Yeah.
and he left. Unexpected teams to not make the playoffs. Craig said Pittsburgh, which is kind of a they were an in between, and they're not doing so well right now. Dan said Boston, which I think at the time was a very good pick.
It was reasonable.
They made moves. They made
Yeah.
some, and from Anaheim, they got Lindholm and they
Mhm.
signed him for an extended period of time, potentially replacing Krug. Like that's I don't think Boston is done yet.
No, unfortunately not. And I would have loved to. I think I just wanted to not see them in the playoffs because it's Boston, and
wishful
it would just
thinking.
be it'd just be a little kick in the pants. But
Of course.
but I do feel good that they're in the wild card spot and that the Leafs passed them and kept ahead of them so well.
Mhm.
I would have loved to see that matchup right on the first series, but we'll wait and see. But I don't think it's going to happen.
I want them so bad, and if they don't take over Tampa, they're going to spoil Carolina.
There's no way they're going to take over Tampa. Tampa's on a tear right now.
Yeah, well,
Like,
mathematically they can, but
Tampa needs 1 point and they've got the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
But
I think they take out Carolina, which I feel so bad for Carolina. 'Cause
Yeah.
they're a
They
fun
might.
team.
They might.
And,
Yeah.
well, they're 2 goalies down,
yeah.
which is nuts.
Yeah.
Me, unexpected team to not make the playoffs. Wow, terrible predictions at the beginning. Florida and Washington.
Yeah.
Stupid. But then I switched to Vegas. Ding, 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 ding.
Yep. And Vegas is losing 1-0 right now, and Dallas is
boy.
winning. So it's lights out for
Yeah.
Vegas.
It's basically done.
Yeah.
Last ones. Stanley Cup winners. Craig says Carolina. Do you want to make a change, or do you want to stick with that potentially?
If Freddie was still around, I'd give them a better shot to get through the first round.
Mm-hmm.
Which team do I think it's going to be? It's going to be Toronto. I'm going to say it.
Okay,
I'm just saying it now.
I'm gonna type that one in.
Lock
I'm typing
it
this.
in, Greg.
You get
I'll-
tattooed on my
I'll
forehead.
type
Toronto
it in,
will
in blue. And,
Stanley Cup champions 2022.
There you go.
Craig also said Tampa to start the year. Dan said Vegas to start the year. Fun. Then switch to Toronto.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold.
Holding,
Yeah, thanks, bud.
holding fast, holding
Yeah,
fast.
not change anything there.
I said the New York Islanders to start the year.
Hey!
You know what? If they didn't have 13 games on the road to start, they'd at least be in the playoffs, I think.
Yeah, and maybe Boston would be out.
And maybe
Yeah.
Boston would be
Yeah.
out.
Here's something. Who are the 4 teams that were in the I guess they weren't conference finals, the semifinals last year for the Stanley Cup? Who are the 4 teams that were left?
The 4 teams?
Yeah.
Montreal, Vegas, New York, and Tampa. And Tampa's the only one in the playoffs.
And 3 of those teams missed the playoffs this year. That's how wild, and just you cannot consider what last year was
Yeah,
because 3
Yeah.
of those teams are on this year.
and that's why I'm hoping Tampa's tired because they've played more hockey than anybody else in the last 2
They won
years.
2 Stanley Cups in like 200 days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
So-
they better be tired.
I said New York Islanders switch to Florida. And they're
Pretty safe.
they're very likely to win the President's Trophy, or if they haven't already.
Not yet.
I can't do it. Like,
President's Trophy team doesn't win the cup.
well, that, but also I don't think I can say Toronto. Like it's a hard road. It's much harder through the East than it is through the West.
Get
But
out.
Mitch Marner is a hard SOB.
No, he's not. Go
Hey,
through
the
the
playoffs
West.
he is.
You got to get through Colorado. That's basically it.
Yeah.
Unless your first round is
Are you
psycho.
Daryl Sutter right now?
Yes.
Well, and Calgary. Calgary's going to do good things in the playoffs too.
I'm gonna go early, Craig, and I'm gonna say Tampa's gonna three-peat.
Really?
I think Vasilevsky
At this point,
is
really, eh?
unstoppable. Which sucks because that means we're out in the first round.
Yeah.
But I think Tampa's got it.
Get out
do
of
you,
my house.
I was gonna say
Do you
Yeah,
think
get up,
Toronto
get up.
can handle another out in the first round?
this one isn't the same. It's
No.
Tampa.
Yeah.
It's they. While they are the higher seed, it's Tampa Bay. It's
I
Boston
know,
before they
but-
weren't supposed to win. Or Washington they weren't supposed to win. Boston they weren't supposed to win. Boston they were supposed to win. Columbus they were supposed to win. Montreal they were supposed to win. Tampa it's like, come on.
But that's the point of the build of this team, to compete with those top seed players.
Yeah.
Like, if we can't do that, what the fuck are we doing here?
It's funny because next week in my playoff bracket I'm probably gonna pick Toronto. But
Yeah, of course.
But if that doesn't happen, I think Tampa goes all the way.
Yeah.
If Tampa can get through Toronto, they can get through anybody.
Possibly.
So I'm gonna go Tampa, which is a terrible way to end the podcast, but gets you thinking. A lot of questions this podcast. I hope you guys are thinking about them as well as you're listening. Who was the best forward, defenseman, power play, PK, coaching? How did you feel about that? Management? How did you feel about that? Nylander? Do you think he's lazy? Do you think we should ship him out? I think that's a big question right there. And how was the season for you? Who's gonna win the cup? Is it Toronto?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's gonna be the
Absolutely.
blue and white team. We've come to a
Okay,
consensus.
okay.
It's a blue and
The
white
blue
team.
and white team
It's a
is
blue and
going
white
to
team.
win
Yeah.
with the pointy logo.
Unless they wear their black jerseys.
Yeah.
Right.
So the team with the black third jerseys.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Gotcha. The only difference is one of them is made by Justin Bieber. Okay, that was fun. Next week, or even less than next week, the playoffs start, and we're going to do our playoff bracket. That's fun. I'm so excited to do that.
Me too.
That's
That'll
fun.
be good.
I can't wait for Craig graphic. That was the best part of last year.
I've just been the thing. I still have that graphic. I can just.
You gotta mix it up.
I
a bit.
guess I
You gotta,
can.
you gotta
Yeah.
get some new
Yeah.
stuff. You have so much more knowledge now. So, thank you so much for listening. And go Leafs, go.
Go Leafs, go.
Go Bolts, go.
What the fuck?
Oh, get out of your house, man.
I thought I was bad at saying that. Damn, it's gotta win.
You just jinxed
good.
the entire series.
Oh no!
Okay,
he anti-jinxed it. He
Oh,
took
yes.
away my
yeah,
jinx.
okay.
Gotcha.
good.
Yes, it's a cosmic karma balancing out the universe.
Two wrongs do make a right.
Yes.
Oh, God.